Hello, my name is Kevin Souls, American Board Certified Orthotist with Pediatric Orthotic Specialists. Today, I not only hope to highlight what makes the D-DAFO an entirely unique AFO, but share an orthosis that treats a variety of neurological conditions within the pediatric community. As pediatric orthotists, we must encourage patients to build muscle control, proprioception, and dynamic balance, but we want to accomplish this with an orthosis that ultimately increases the child's function and decreases the likelihood of future deformities. Now, during mid-stance, the critical event of ankle dorsiflexion allows for progression of the stance limb over a stationary supported foot. At this point, the distal tibia medially rotates and begins forward advancement to flex the knee and create a triangle with the ground reaction force for weight-bearing stability. As evidenced by Elaine Owen, the shank is not vertical during mid-stance and moves throughout a range of motion to allow the thigh to become inclined and the pelvis and trunk to move forward in a vertical position. Normalization of the shank angle kinematics can therefore facilitate the most normal thigh, trunk, and pelvis kinematics, even in pathological gait. And with that, improve knee and hip kinematics for the best possible outcomes. At Pediatric Orthotic Specialists, our mission is to prevent deformity and enhance function for our patients. After struggling to find the ideal orthosis to best carry out our goal, the vision of creating our own design was realized, and following years of research and development, the D-DAFO was introduced. The patented dynamic design and materials of the D-DAFO provide a total contact orthosis capable of comfortably maintaining neutral alignment by precisely limiting and allowing specific movements as needed for ideal function. These unique features allow full correction of subtalar joint alignment while also accommodating severe spasticity and other muscle tone imbalances. This dynamic design is of particular benefit for children presenting with spasticity, a condition often seen in cerebral palsy and other neurological disorders. These patients are generally confronted with muscle imbalances as their muscles lack the desired complementary forces critical for ideal functioning. This imbalance of muscular pulls, or spastic contractures, creates misalignment of the involved joints that will eventually lead to permanent deformity in the child if left uncorrected. Unlike adults, however, children are quite malleable and can usually be reshaped even when their spastic contractures have brought their joints significantly out of alignment. These conditions can be favorably corrected with the D-DAFO dynamic ankle support system. So what exactly makes the D-DAFO unique from other orthoses? This design creates a structured dynamic support system to help control and guide the tibia through the motions that stabilize the lower limb with the associated ground reaction forces. This system, made possible by the pretibial shell, the tongue, the flanges, and the elastic Velcro, works in unison to support the patient's corrected alignment and control the velocity, medial rotation, and range of tibial advancement. These attributes give the D-DAFO a very distinct advantage over traditional solid ankle or articulating AFO designs, as progressive tibial advancement and foot and ankle control can be adjusted at the discretion of the physician and orthotist to specifically meet the needs of each patient. Not only is the design optimized to produce the best outcomes for our patients, but the materials were selected based on their dynamic capabilities. The material used for the body of the orthosis is thermoplastic elastomer, or TPE. This plastic combines copolymers with elastomers to provide a very unique rebounding characteristic that is also very lightweight and flexible. As a result of this flexibility and rebound, the full-length toe plate of the design can allow third rocker for more fluid rollover into terminal stance. The pretibial shell of the tongue is also granted movement due to the flexibility of the flanges, while the elastic Velcro controls the range of tibial advancement as specified by the clinician. While the joint complexes of the foot and ankle remain corrected and supported, the patient is also more easily able to move through their available dorsiflexion range to squat, pull to stand, and laterally shift, which are important milestones for pediatric development and independence. The capabilities of the materials do not simply end with flexibility. Each D-DAFO is custom tailored to the patient by manipulating the material throughout the fabrication process. This allows the final product to possess the exact dynamic characteristics that will best support the patient for increased function. To start, the pretibial shell is brought to just the right height to fine-tune the sagittal plane guidance system as required by the patient. During the vacuum forming process, the flanges are pulled to just the correct thickness, so the pretibial shell is allowed to move as indicated by the practitioner. This movement, which provides anterior translation of the tibia for the most stable support mechanism during weight bearing, can then be adjusted with the elastic Velcro, which is also selected based on the needs of the patient. All this dynamic adjustment is afforded to the patient while the distal joints of the foot and ankle are being circumferentially supported to comfortably maintain a neutral corrective position. Another feature imperative to maintain successful and comfortable correction is the intrinsic and extrinsic posting. Now, intrinsic posting is created within the positive model itself during the cast modification or rectification process. Here, the practitioner sculpts these changes by adding or removing material that is representative of the patient's tissue. These modifications will be carried over to the final product and will function to properly support the patient's corrected alignment within the orthosis. Now, the extrinsic posting is then molded to the plantar surface of the orthosis during fabrication to accommodate any forefoot varus or valgus that is necessary to maintain correction of patient's foot and ankle complex. So far, we've focused on the custom, dynamic, and comfortable support offered to our pediatric patients by the D-DAFO. One very important characteristic of children, however, is they are constantly changing and developing. As a result, the ideal orthosis is one that can adapt to the patient's needs when necessary, while continuing to increase function and prevent deformity. Since several important articulations of the foot and ankle are triplanar, these structures must be supported in their correct alignment while controlling the range of motion that provides the patient with the greatest function. Another principal highlight of the D-DAFO is the ability to adapt the design to the ever-changing needs of the patient. This is where the different variations of the orthosis play a key role in promoting the development of our patient population. The full-length D-DAFO developed to prevent equinus while encouraging supported dynamic dorsiflexion can be fabricated to incorporate a pretibial shell of maximum height to offer the patient the greatest sagittal plane support and still impart progression of the tibia. As the height of the pretibial shell is decreased, more anterior translation is afforded while the distal structures of the foot and ankle remain supported. Now, many will notice that the design does not include a proximal strap, like many other orthoses, as this is done to allow for anterior translation of the tibia while still allowing for the necessary movements that aid in optimal joint kinematics. By removing forward translation of the tibia with the addition of a proximal strap, the knee is never allowed to centralize over the foot to create a stable distal support mechanism. By removing the proximal strap of the orthosis and creating a frontal plane guidance system in the form of the pretibial shell, tongue, flanges, and elastic Velcro to control tibial advancement, the knee is able to align over the foot to generate a stable structure within the base of support during ambulation. If a patient presents with posterior muscle compartment contractures and a subtalar neutral corrected position cannot be achieved with the talocrural joint at 90 degrees, an articulating D-DAFO can be provided. This variation still incorporates all the commonalities of other D-DAFO designs, but allows for comfortable correction at the patient's current end range with the ability to adjust the plantar flexion stop if the patient gains range of motion with aggressive therapy or other interventions. A posterior leaf spring D-DAFO is another variation that can offer circumferential correction of the distal support structures of the foot and ankle, but provide dorsiflexion assist to patients with anterior muscle weakness. The posterior strut can be fine-tuned to allow for controlled dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, and yet the patient is still able to benefit from the dynamic materials to promote development. When allowing plantar flexion range may be advantageous to the patient, a mid-height or low-profile design can be selected. The mid-height variation, with its proximal flare located distal to the gastrocnemius muscles, will allow for controlled and increased plantar flexion range, as specified by the practitioner, while continuing to encourage fully supported dorsiflexion. The low-profile design will then allow for both free plantar flexion and dorsiflexion, while fully correcting the foot and ankle complex with circumferential support and comfort. To review, the D-DAFO is a progressive, adjustable dynamic orthosis system designed to address a broad range of biomechanical alignment needs of the foot and the ankle, while also functioning to stabilize the more proximal joints. This feat is accomplished in part to a unique fabrication process that creates an overlapping and interlocking design of the pretibial shell with the orthosis's other materials to provide circumferential support to the structures of the foot and the ankle. An elastic strap secured to the tongue of the design can be adjusted to create the desired tibial advancement that will produce the most functional outcomes for the patient. Because the D-DAFO is a custom molded dynamic and circumferential support system, the orthotist is able to provide total pressure distribution throughout the entire foot and ankle and lower leg in order to control movement in all three planes. The dynamics offered by the materials and design also allow for slight and controlled movement within the orthosis during spastic contractures while maintaining the patient's corrected alignment. Pediatric orthotic specialists believe the D-DAFO functions to provide the dynamic control necessary to promote correction, proper growth patterns, and desirable gait characteristics for our pediatric patient population. Many years have gone into developing this particular design, and our continued objective of bringing the best materials and fabrication techniques is a testament to our mission of preventing deformity and enhancing function for our patients to the best of our ability. Thank you for your time. Now, I know that it was a lot of information, and we love to answer any questions you may have, so we encourage you to contact our office. Again, I'm Kevin Souls with Pediatric Orthotic Specialists. Have a great day.